Okay, welcome to Lights Camera Barstool. Today we are doing a review of, I think, one of the most, between us two, one of the more divisive movies that we've ever watched. In Osgood Perkins' The Monkey, the latest in this a seemingly endless string of monkey-themed movies that have come out over the last, I don't know, like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. So we're reviewing that and doing a little bit of news. Uh, I can't honestly I can't wait to talk about the monkey experience because we ended up doing a group FaceTime call after it was me and like the
I
five
know.
of our
We
coworkers
should have
that
filmed
got
that.
me to see it. Yeah, honestly should have. But yeah, anyway, before we get to that, let's talk about some movie news first. First being the Andor trailer, and I feel like I didn't hear shit about this trailer dropping today at all.
No.
I didn't hear a word about it. But yeah, they dropped the trailer for season 2 today. It had like this weird like indie pop song playing on the background of it, which I thought was odd. But other than that,
Yeah.
it was a little.
2004 is back. It's
It,
back, baby.
wasn't that like strange for the vibe of the show though? Like I know I said that in
Which
our chat too, but I was just like, what? It's a little strange.
very strange. Has Star Wars ever done this? No, right?
Not
Never.
that I could
They've
think of.
never not used a John Williams score, like just
Or
a
like a
simple
thematic
score.
music, yeah, something like that, like a score. Yeah, it was just odd, and then also just it doesn't really totally match just the theme of the show. The show's pretty serious, like you know what I mean. Like I don't know, it's just a little
I,
odd.
I
But other than
do
that,
like. I don't hate the idea, to be honest. Like of
no,
using music in the. Let me be clear. Using it for like trailers for their streaming shows. Like, don't ever do this for a movie, because like
yeah,
Star Wars has like that brand. Like, just don't fuck with that. But like streaming show, whatever. Pick a song. Pick a better song. Pick a lot better song.
yeah.
Like have you ever seen those videos on YouTube of that guy does like he does like classic rock, Star Wars like edits. Like he
Oh
does
wait,
like
yeah, I think
war
Robbie
like
Fox actually showed that to me. Yeah,
there's one that's crazy. It's like War Pigs by Black Sabbath,
yeah,
linked up, and that's like that works perfectly. Like pick a better
yeah.
song, and I think this works. But let's talk about the actual trailer. What's in the
Yeah,
trailer outside of the music?
again, that's not like some deal breaker or something. It's not like, oh my god, this is gonna
No.
stink now. No, not at all. It was just like, hey, that's just an odd thing. But other than that, all the stuff in the trailer looked cool. Like your little shots of like now. I feel like the whole first season was a lot of Andor finding his stride, basically, or like
Mhm.
what he wants to do and all that. And you can kind of see it within this trailer, at least. Like, oh, he knows what he's doing now. Like he's the man, and I'm very excited to see how they what they do with it.
Yeah, he's finally like radicalized. Like he's ready. To,
Yeah,
he's ready to be a terrorist, baby.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped for this. Cannot wait. This has been a miserably long wait. Does not help that like there's been some decent Star Wars stuff come out since season 2. I think there's
A
been
Skeleton Crew, I'll
something
still
good.
stand up for. I like
Skeleton
Skeleton
Crew,
Crew. Yeah,
that was good. But like when there's just like acolyte, like endless episodes of stuff you don't want that
yeah.
continuously comes out, and you're just like, please give us Andor. It's finally here. I'm thrilled. It's the best show.
Hmm.
It's the best show they've ever done, and I think it's like the best thing they've done since Empire Strikes Back, which sounds crazy, but I really believe it. And they're dropping
Yeah.
the episodes in a very fascinating way. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. What was it?
They're gonna drop them in like their cores, like 3 episode cores. So it'll
Oh,
only
like
come out for a
arcs?
month, but they'll drop the 3 episode arcs all at once, which I kind of like that.
That's cool, especially because like I think a lot of how that worked in the Clone Wars series. Like in the Clone Wars, they had very definitive arcs. They didn't release them in that same order, but like that worked so well for them. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like that could really
I feel
be
like that
good for
was
this
also like where it lost a lot of people last year. Would there'd be episodes that were mainly, you know,
setup or
maybe not moving the plot forward, but a lot of character development, a lot of setting things up, and people would be like, "Well, nothing happened this episode." It's like, well, wait till the third episode in this arc, and then everything will
hmm
come together. So I think this could help for at least for those people.
Yeah, and also Ben Mendelsohn will be coming back for this one, as well as Foggy Boy.
It's gonna do a Star Wars. I need you to help me do a Star Wars, mate.
Him and I believe Alan Tudyk is coming back to voice K2SO, who should be in this series as well. But yeah, we're big Andor fans. It's like
Confirm first on Mike's camera Barstool.
yeah,
Remember?
the did we really
Yeah, you guys interviewed Alan
Alan
Tudyk for
Tudyk?
this is right when the first season of Andor had it was either airing or just came out,
It probably just
and
can't come out. Yeah.
he was doing press tour for Resident Alien, and you guys
hmm
asked him about it. And season 2, I don't think had even really
been
Or you guys
confirmed
asked
or?
him if he was gonna. No, it was right before it came out, and you're like, "Are you gonna be in Andor?" And he was like, "Well, I'm not gonna be in season 1," which just
Ah,
completely gave it away.
gotcha.
I'll have to dig through the archive to
The
find that
archives to
clip.
find that one. But yeah, I agree with you though. Andor is like the best, like as far as qualitatively speaking, like one season of television, like the best thing Star Wars had made in decades.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very excited for that to come back. Timothy Chalamet, Timmy C won a SAG for a Complete Unknown. The only weird thing about this, and it's he has a really cool speech. He dressed up like fucking Tim Heidecker apparently, which I didn't put that together. Did you
Yeah,
see that?
I saw that side by side. It's supposed to be in. He's been doing homages to like all of like Bob
Yeah,
Dylan's looks at all these different events. Bob Dylan doesn't like old Bob Dylan. Like so, these are like looks that 70-year-old Bob Dylan has been like putting together.
yeah.
Terrible outfits.
Bad. But he won the SAG. He had a really cool speech talking about like how like I know a lot of people were very like humble in these moments. Like to be clear, like I want to be the best. Like I want to be the best actor. I want like all that stuff. And like that's cool. That's cool for him to I think acknowledge that, especially considering like it's a lot of like faux humility I think in Hollywood where everyone thinks
Mm-hmm.
they need to be considered like the nicest, sweetest underdog person ever. And it's kind of cool to just Chalamet just dump his balls on the table and be like I want to be the best. That's cool. And it is also just weird that it's not even. Not only is it not Timothy Chalamet's like best performance, it's not the best movie he's been in. It's not even like his best role this year. Like it's just crazy that this is the moment for it.
My connection just dropped for a second, but I'm back. But you are absolutely right. Timothy Chalamet, fantastic resume. This is I don't even think A Complete Unknown is a not only a top 5 movie he's been in, like not even I don't know if it's a top 5 performance he's had. Like if you think about it, I mean, I think Dune Part 2 is honestly his best performance. Or if you want to just group Dune together. Um, Call Me by Your Name,
Yeah,
maybe number
better.
2.
The
The
King was
King,
better.
better. Like short or small role, but Ladybird, fantastic. It's kind of right in his wheelhouse. Beautiful
Yeah,
Boy,
I was gonna say Beautiful Boy.
fantastic.
I almost said Ben is back.
Um, and there's things I haven't seen Bones and all yet, but I know people really like him in that. It is crazy. This is a thing he's getting recognized for, the musical biopic. But he's taking full advantage of it. I love this competitive attitude. Like
Hmm.
we could use more sports mentality in the arts. Like obviously they're very different. The goal of like making a movie is not to win awards, but I think all these people are lying to themselves if they say it like doesn't matter. Like look at when Adrian Brody loses to Timmy and like the face he makes, like he's
Yeah,
disgusted. Like just own it. It's so much more fun. It makes it so much more fun to root for these people, and like it's been missing. I think
it,
they need it.
it reminds me of a what do you call it? Like I almost want it to be him and Austin Butler, maybe going back and forth, like a Bird
Mm-hmm.
versus Magic type deal. Like who can be the better, best young actor getting his shot? Like I feel like that competition level is good and it almost reminds
Mm-hmm.
me too of uh Jim Cameron. Like you know what I mean, where he's like, I want to make movies that make the most money. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I do appreciate the level of like unabashed confidence and desire to be the best, which I respect. Uh, next piece of movie news. Speaking of actors that make a decent or people in Hollywood make a decent chunk of change, The Rock is going to be starring in Martin Scorsese's upcoming movie as a Hawaiian crime boss. The role is described as Robert De Niro's Jimmy the Gent character from Goodfellas. He will star alongside Leonardo DiCaprio and Emily Blunt. But just a bizarre thing. Like it feels like one of those headlines that's just made up. Like The Rock is going to do a movie with Martin Scorsese. Like that's not real. But I think that the way that I thought about it was this: like, my thought process was exactly that. Like, that doesn't make sense. No way that works. Blah 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 blah. But then my second level of it was like, The Rock in spurts. Like, I've seen him. Like, you think of him as an entertainer more than like an artist. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
different levels of acting in that world, and at the same time, I've seen him hit sort of a second level in certain things. Like, I know people like to shit on ballers and say like it's dumb, it's goofy, whatever. Like, he has some serious acting moments in that, and he does really well. If this movie can kind of like capitalize on like that aura of him, and if you can kind of sort of separate him from his persona, because he's one of the ultimate actors where it's like you see him on screen, it's like that's The Rock. Like you don't like think
Yeah.
of him as like a chameleon. You know what I mean? So like if he finds a way to do both of those things, it could be great.
Yeah. I think part of that also is like not only does he just have a recognizable face, it's that fucking body. Like
Yeah,
it's so big you can't put like baggy clothes on him and just be like, oh yeah, no, he's like not actually like that muscular. Like he's just massive.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is all a part of. I think The Rock is in like full blown rebrand mode right now, or brand management mode. I think the last 5 years were not kind to him. I mean, when you guys started LCP, he was easily like, I mean, number one star in the world, probably number
Like the
one
highest
Hollywood
grossing movie
star,
star in the world. Yeah.
and likable. Like people were talking about this man running for president, um, and he like kind of lost like a large chunk of that goodwill these past 5 years by starring in dog shit movies, talking about fucking verticals on Red
Yeah.
One, shit like that. And now he's doing an A24 movie with the Safdie brother and a Martin Scorsese picture,
I keep forgetting
which
about
tells
that.
me he knows where his reputation is at right now. And he knows he's got to get people back on his side. And I think this is his swing at it. Now, can he act? I didn't watch enough Ballers to say whether or not he
You
can.
gotta watch more
But you're all right.
Ballers.
Like he's got his strengths. I will say this sounds like it was written for him.
Yeah.
It's a real person. Interesting cast. It's also like one of like 7 upcoming Martin Scorsese projects. So there's a shot we never see this. But even just getting his like name attached to Martin Scorsese, I think is a win for him.
Is this what number of movies is this that Emily Blunt has been in with The Rock? Because
Jungle Cruise.
there's another one that I'm missing. I feel like because this will be. I remember because I looked at it and I was like, wait, has he been in a lot of movies with her? And I think there's one more that I mean, Smashing Machine, the A24 movie. She's also going to be in. Which, yeah, I mean, Office Jim, counting your fucking days, brother. Your wife's getting her IUD removed by The Rock. Whatever. Which, by the way, not to be like too much sports talk, but like that Steve Smith story that was going crazy a couple days ago with the guy talking about his wife, like all of that could easily be real. But then the second that I saw the line, like the wife supposedly saying to Steve Smith, like, "Yeah, you fucked me so hard, you removed your. I was afraid you would remove my IUD." I'm like, that's something a guy on Twitter writes. Like, there's no way a girl wrote that. Like, there's just no way. That's fucking like that's something. I don't know, like goofball on Twitter writes, but whatever.
I was too distracted by those silly faces he was making.
Yeah. I wonder if they could track those anywhere else.
He's making the Fasoli face.
Yeah, but you can't really do that. It's been so nice having him. You guys lost that trade big time. Having Fasoli back in New York.
Such a good vibes guy. It's like having a golden retriever in the office.
Yeah. James Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have stepped back from the franchise, giving Amazon MGM full creative control. I think we were all kind of like in unison in this. Like, first of all, it's crazy because like they're, as far as like producers that are in control of IPs go, like they're probably like the 1A as far as franchises are. It's like the Tolkien family, maybe, like you could talk about them being hyper protective about it. But like it's always, whenever you hear James Bond news, it's Barbara Broccoli's thinking this, Barbara Broccoli's thinking this. Like, and it's funny because of the name, the Broccoli last name is just hysterical, but like partially
so
and then they've just been generally, especially Barbara, since she took over, been very good. Like she took over through at the start of the Pierce Brosnan movies, which like some are okay, mostly good, I would say. And then James Bond or Daniel Craig era, which is like 2 of the best movies in Skyfall and Casino Royale. So I think they've been pretty good guardians of James Bond. And now all this getting handed, this massive action franchise IP getting handed over to Amazon, who's not exactly well known for their, I would say, studio successes. It feels bad. It feels like a really bad omen for James Bond.
Yeah, it feels terrible. If it was just like it's going to MGM, like a bunch of studio heads, that would also be sad. But at least I would know, like, oh, they're just gonna, they'll probably make the move. There will be a decline in the movies. It'll feel like more like of a cinematic universe because that's what every studio is chasing right now. But at least it would be sticking in theaters. With like Amazon MGM, like we're about to see just dog shit streaming series. Like you were talking about the Money Penny. I have my money on like a Q spinoff series. With
Q
Jack
spinoff
Quaid.
series for sure. Oh yeah.
Like probably a young James Bond series, like shit like that, which is like fine for other properties, but this is fucking James Bond. Like, just give me a movie every 3 to 5 years. I'm good. That's all I want.
Yeah. I'm afraid of I think especially with them, just like algorithm choices. You know what I mean? Like whenever
Mm-hmm.
you hear, especially like the thing recently with like Maya Hawke and Ethan Hawke and all that, where they're like, "Oh, studios are asking how many Instagram followers you have." Like that's what I'm afraid of when I hear of Amazon
Mm-hmm.
MGM taking over James Bond. Is like, oh well, we liked Aaron Taylor Johnson, but he didn't have as many Instagram followers as Merpo Blurpo, the TikTok star. You know what I mean? Like that's my
Yeah.
biggest fear for this, that, and just diluting the IP with stuff that you were talking about, like old spin-off series and whatever. Or like, hey, maybe we're gonna do like a ballerina to John Wick for James Bond, where it's like the female alter ego of it's 008, whatever, or 700, Agent 700. They do some bullshit like that, like anything that they think will, like the computer is telling them to, which I hate.
Yeah.
Because James Bond has a. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just don't think like it's not like they're not like Prime or no, they're not like sorry, they're not like Apple or like Max or Netflix or Hulu where they're just like trying to get people to come to their streamer and watch their shows and enjoy them and keep coming back. Like they're trying to sell a fucking like Amazon Prime subscription, so
Yeah,
you go on their website
like
and
hardware and
buy like
other stuff.
yeah, like so do they really fucking care if their shit's any good or they just want you to like be interested enough to just buy the subscription? Like I really think I don't see why they would even try with this shit if that's like their end goal, which it is. That's why I hate this. I really hate this move.
Yeah.
Like it feels dire.
Although I will say
Extremely dire.
the goodwill or the bad will or the hesitation goes out the window the second they're like, well, we're casting Henry Cavill or we're casting Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like if they make a good choice and they're like announce a great Bond, immediately all that bad feeling or those bad feelings go out the window. And I'm like, I'm in. Just do as you pick the right guy.
Taylor
So
Johnson would rule.
he'd be
But
so
see, the
good.
thing is, like, I think Broccoli would have come through with a really good pick.
They were
Like, I really,
eyeballing Aaron Taylor Johnson for a while. That's what they kept
mhm,
saying. They kept
yeah.
reporting that.
Um, Cavill, I think, would suck. I don't know about you.
My issue with Cavill is like he would have been great 10 years ago. He would have been
Yes.
really, really good. And I think now he's just kind of very similar to the Daniel Craig Bond in a lot of ways. Like here's a little muscle hamster man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, Henry Cavill's taller than Daniel Craig, but still, like he feels too similar of the need. And we definitely a little more sleek. And I think Aaron Taylor
Yeah.
Johnson has that, especially from Bullet Train, which I rewatched the other day, by the way. Very, I think people were too harsh on that movie. Like the big CGI endings, whatever, but like it's pretty good.
Pretty fun. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's a fun movie.
yeah. Little
David
lemon.
Leitch.
Yeah, and like the
Shout out
Channing
David
Tatum little
Leitch.
cameo is just stupid but funny.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Is this a sex thing?
yeah, is this? He's so funny, dude. It's so fucking naturally funny.
Sandra Bullock's wig? Come on.
Yeah,
Crazy wig. Crazy
insane
wig
one.
at the end of that movie.
I have no idea how that came to pass, but I would love to see like the behind the scenes of that.
And then I guess they all just hung around after that movie and shot. What was the other movie?
Oh,
Velocity of Z.
yes,
They were just all in that movie again together.
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And that also was a heavily green screened movie. That's the only thing I would have if I could have changed anything about Bullet Train. That's one thing I would shift a bit because like it's goofy and it's funny in a lot of ways, but like that's part of I guess the charm in a way. But like that, I don't know, that could have done a little bit less of that, especially in the big ending crash scene.
Crash scene was crazy.
Yeah. So that is our news for today. Now we get to review again one of the more divisive movies I think that we'll review. The Monkey. When twin brothers Bill and Hal find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths begin. The siblings decide to throw away the toy and move on with their lives, growing apart over the years. Directed by Osgood Perkins, who obviously is coming off the heels of Longlegs. It stars the big two stars are Theo James and Tatiana Maslany, who was in She-Hulk among other things. And Theo James has been in a lot of. He was in White Lotus season 2. He was in The Gentleman, becoming like a much bigger name now. So this movie, you saw it like weeks ago, right? Like in a screener or
Just a couple
something.
weeks ago.
Yeah. I went and saw it on Friday with a big group of our coworkers. It was me, Owen, who's if you've watched LCB, he's been on before. He's like a big cinephile. Pavs, he shoots all of Out of Order. Clemmer, Robbie Fox, Tommy Smokes, and myself. So what I would say is that this is a group that had very different movie tastes. So it could have been very possible that anyone thought at anything. You know what I mean? Like not exactly like narrowed down styles of what we typically enjoy. We sat and we watched the movie. We all got out, and every single one of us looked at each other like just like is one of us missing something? Because that was one of the worst experiences we just had watching a movie. That's how much we had all disliked that movie, and
Whew.
we were really excited for it too because everything I'd heard about it was like, hey, it's this big fun, goofy, self-aware, campy, whatever thing. That it's a fun time with friends, and all of us were just sitting there dead silent throughout the entire movie. None of us enjoyed it.
That's what you get for bringing Climmer. He's a vibes. He's a vibes vampire.
He was on the end cap of the
He
seat
sucked.
of our seats. He
He
was like
sucked
away
your
from all
vibes
of
out.
us.
Well, he's got a big appetite. It's a little
uh,
boy, but big appetite. He sucked your vibes away.
so yeah, I would say just like as a base start to tell you, as an audience, I was not a big fan of the monkey, but you were.
Yeah, I was a big. I mean, like it's not my favorite movie of the year, but 3.5 stars. It's a good movie in my book. I had a good time. I thought this was funny, especially like front half. I think a lot better than the second half. Front
Typical.
half very funny.
It's not become a technical
Um,
thing for him, by the way, for Perkins.
yeah, he gets a little messy on the back end. He very clearly, I would say, lets his personal life bleed into his work, which comes with varying success. But I do love that he does that. I had fun with this. I think the comedy elements are really well done. The horror and the kills are cool, gory. Um, yeah, not much else to say. Some of the performances very, very fun. Theo James doing his best James Franco impression. And the little boy who played the younger version of himself, weirdly a very good actor. Played like the twins.
Yeah, I don't know what the actor's name is. So this is what I'll say, and I want to give the movie flowers before going after it in any way. So I think if you're into like gore and horrors, like the kills are cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're way over the top, which is obviously on purpose. Whether it's explosions of bodies, stuff getting ripped out, dismemberments, whatever. Like that's all like I think cool, yeah, in its own way. And I think that this is the same thing in Long Legs as well. I think Perkins has a lot of juice as a, I don't want to say like cinematographer, but like he's helping design these shots. Like he's helping put this shit together. Like he gets some cool angles. He gets some cool sort of like leads up moments that help you with like the suspense and like help you feel more in the moment. Like even like little cool shit. I saw someone tweet about this and I had just been thinking about it. Like there's just like a POV shot of like the fucking arm coming down on the monkey, like little stuff like that. There's a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
cool little moments that happen. So I think Perkins actually has a lot more juice as a cinematographer because he's a lot of good job. He does this really good job of like giving you more suspense in a scene through the camera work. And whether it's like a little thing like the POV shot of the arm of this monkey's hand coming down, like little things like that stuff looks cool. But I think that there's a lot more problems. But I think that those are the big two things that I really like about it. The cool kills are cool, and there's some cool shots as far as like setting you up for suspense.
Yeah, no, I think that is absolutely spot on. I think he is Osgood Perkins, the director, is much more talented than Osgood Perkins, the writer. That's not to say he doesn't have any juice as a writer. I think he has interesting ideas, but he for sure needs a co-writer or a writer who's in the room with him to help him along. Uh, it just needs, and I haven't seen his whole filmography. I've only seen this and Long Legs. But between the two, it just feels like they needed one more draft, two more drafts to go through, work through some things, especially in how he wants to wrap it up and how heavily he wants to put his life into his work and make it kind of just shine through. If you're not familiar, by the way, Osgood Perkins is the son of Anthony Perkins,
Horror
who you
legend.
probably recognize from Psycho, very famously a gay man also, which is complicated, and his mom as well, which kind of this movie tackles, is she died in 9/11. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
probably the most absurd, random act of, death you could imagine. Um, so him putting that into the movie, I don't hate how it's done. Very clumsy. I'm willing to overlook that all when I laugh, though. That's the big thing here. This movie made me laugh, and I can forgive a lot of those like blemishes because of that. If this movie doesn't make you laugh, I could see why you. I mean, obviously you won't like it. Where I'm lost is you came out of this movie saying worst of the year.
So I'll give you the dissertation, I guess, of why I really truly disliked it. So the crux of this movie, right, is that it's a horror and a comedy, right? Like that's just
Mm-hmm.
the general. It's not scary, and it's not funny. Like I got nothing out of the like maybe like
Nothing.
at best like a huh like, you know what I mean, like the Family Guy ostrich bit where it's like, haha, like one of those. The comedy writing was so bad, and there are a lot of moments, and this really hurt in the theater experience too. There are a lot of moments where he leaves space for an audience laugh that never came. Where like there is one in specifically that I could think of that really was like I was like almost secondhand embarrassment like type of thing, where he was, of course, when he was inserted as himself as Uncle Chip or whatever. He's talking about like
Yeah,
he's like, oh
absurd button shops.
yeah, and he's like, yeah, well, me and my wife are swingers, so. And like there's like a big like break for the audience to be like ha ha ha, and like nothing happens. Like there's a lot of just little lines where, man, they just wasn't funny. He's not like, he needs, like, I would agree with you, either someone else to like help him like filter out and parse his brain into a working script, or just somebody else to write for him, because again, he's, what he puts together looks good, like an aesthetically pleasing movie in a lot of different ways, but the writing is so bad, and like the tone between these two different elements of comedy and horror being kind of fucked up made the pacing so harsh. Like that movie only being an hour and a half long, like we exited the movie and I was like, damn, I why would they make this movie 2 hours long? It wasn't. It literally felt like the longest movie I'd ever seen. It just kept going, and then for it to keep like feel like it lasts forever, and then have such a dog shit ending. A truly, and you admit it, you said the same, a dog shit ending. It really just made it like it's like like, you know, cherry on top of a shit sundae or whatever. Really did not like it.
I'm not gonna fight you on the ending. I think the ending is just fumbled. But like I said, I was there for the laughs. I was there for the good time. You didn't laugh or I guess we shouldn't. Spoiler section.
Yeah, spoiler section.
You can make your decision on whether or not to watch that movie at this point.
Yeah.
Either be the best movie ever or the worst movie ever. But you didn't laugh at the Adam Scott like right off the rip coming in there with that stupid fucking monkey shooting that pawn shop owner in the stomach with a harpoon.
Mm.
That
Like
didn't make you laugh like Acme versus Coyote like
when that happened, it gave me like not like a laugh. I would say more of like oh, cool kill. You know what I mean? Not necessarily, I would say, an audible laugh at all. Like there were a lot of jokes, and really none of them did anything.
the funeral scene when the pastor gets up there and just starts
Oh, that
fuck.
pastor was the worst. Don't even. They got
Oh, I
nothing
thought
out of
that
that
scene was
pastor.
hilarious.
I hated the pastor. The one laugh I did get was and we even said this right after we got out, the scene where they're saying like don't do it, don't wind the monkey, don't wind the monkey, what'll happen, and then just cut straight to Uncle Chip's funeral. Like that was a good cut.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's good comedic timing. But other than that, like, man, it was a lot of jokes and like almost none of them worked. And I really think like Theo James is a good actor. I think he was horribly miscast in this role, because he's this jacked, super handsome guy that's young. Like he's like 39 or something. And you're supposed to like buy him as this meek loser that also has like a 17-year-old kid. Like there's just, like that element of it, and the fucking stupid mullet, like all that shit. Like he was the wrong actor, I think, for this. And that's not to say like he can't try to do a horror movie. I think he could. This was not the right role for him, I don't think.
It was a strange pick. I'll say that. Do you agree with me? He was like weirdly doing like James Franco, or maybe he just looks like James
He
Franco.
kind of looks like him, and yeah, like
yeah, I don't know. It was a weird pick though. I was like, this guy. There's no way you look like that and you drive. I can't remember what he was driving, like a 1998 like Camry.
yeah.
Like,
That was another thing that felt
that
weird.
guy.
There's a lot of like I can't tell what decade we're supposed to be in, because all the cars looked exactly the same, and all again that's like for some reason like a thing that always identifies like, for setting wise what year you're generally in. Like they're driving the same cars the entire movie. All the house kind of looked like in the 70s throughout the whole thing, even though like even in the beginning it's supposed to be like 1998, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's a lot of difficulty there. And I think another thing that kind of bothers me about this, and this is something that just kind of comes with, I would say, campier, self-aware movies, whatever, is whenever somebody doesn't like these movies, you will get a million people in their replies being like, "You just didn't get it." And that, I think, is the most annoying response to any sort of movie getting a negative review or people not enjoying it. Like that to me is the worst. And that's not to say that's Osgood Perkins' fault or anything like that. It's just like that's just something that comes with this type of movie. But like, oh, you just didn't get it. You didn't get it. No, I get it. I just don't like it. Like, I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't think getting it is like part of the enjoyment of this movie either. Like,
No.
is that gonna make it better? Like it clicking that, oh, this is about like Osgood Perkins' like family trauma and generational trauma that came with like his upbringing and the
Not even
fucked
that.
up way his parents died. Like that doesn't make it more enjoyable. I think it's just like, do you think it's funny or do you not think it's funny? Is like kind
Yeah.
of the basis, the backbone of this movie.
Yeah. And I none of us, we did not find it funny, didn't find it scary. So like it's trying to do two things and to me failing at both. And I think that's kind of an issue that happened with Long Legs. I mean, we talked about that as well. Just like the first half of the movie being like a really excellent thriller, and then the second half of it becoming a supernatural thing, which stunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I really think that he could. And I saw him do an interview, or had a quote about that too, Perkins, where he's like, people just aren't doing horror comedies anymore. Like people don't want people like they want that. They want that. Like sure, not the way this was done. Like there's 100% audience for that. You what Cabin in the Woods, whatever. Like people want that for sure. I don't think this is the proper way because he is kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, whatever the phrase is. I think where if he laser focused in on a thriller, he could have made like Longlegs could have been something like Silence of the Lambs, whatever. You know, it could have been something like that. And instead, you get this weird supernatural shit, which kind of derails it. And I think you kind of got the same thing here. With like this could have been. I don't think the comedy was ever working because it just wasn't particularly funny. But I think that like the horror element of the monkey could have been something interesting at least.
Yeah, horror comedies are tough. I get why they don't come out. It's hard. Like it's one of the harder movies to make because they're so, in terms of genres, so different. If you do too much comedy, it takes away from the fear of everything. There's no stakes. You kind of, it lightens the mood too much. And then if you go too heavy on the horror, you don't really want to laugh. So
Yeah.
it's a very tough balance to strike.
Like I'm trying to think
Rest
of
in
like
peace, Wes Craven.
yes, big rest in peace. We were just talking about right after the movie. Do you remember Jason X? I don't know if you rewatched that as a
Mm-mm.
group. There's like a scene in that movie where Jason, like they're on a space station.
I was gonna say that's the space one, right?
Yeah, he grabs a lady and he dips her head in liquid nitrogen and freezes her head, and then like he pulls her head out and you get like a nice shot of her being like frozen like Han Solo, and he just smashes it on the side of like a corner, just blows up. And then I think in another one he like there's two girls like fooling around in a sleeping bag, which of course, and he like picks up the sleeping bag and just starts wailing it on a tree, and like that shit's funny. Like that to me is funny.
That's very funny.
I think like these little like quips and jabs and like cutaway things like that wasn't particularly funny to me. So yeah, not a particular fan out of the monkey. Like I'd give it like
Make your own opinion. Make your own
yes.
opinion.
No, I'd agree. I'm not saying don't listen to me. Like don't be
No,
like
this is a tough one where I'm like, because the reactions have been fairly divisive. I think most of film Twitter hates it, and then general audiences are kind of mild to positive. I think it's like 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah.
So this is like a hard one to recommend to anyone right off the bat.
Mhm.
Just I would say wait for streaming. It'll probably be on Max in 3 weeks.
I wonder how. Yeah, it'll be on PVOD like at the time this releases.
Literally.
So I'm trying to think of what Stephen King might think of this movie because he seemed like pretty pumped about it getting made. He was doing all the pictures with the monkey, the popcorn bug, and all that shit. So
That's also like a
not a good
Stephen King
barometer.
Stephen King endorsing your Stephen King adaptation is actually not good. Here's why.
you could start at what do you call it? Got The Shining and move on.
Man, I wish he fucking hated it.
What did he describe The Shining as? He's like The Shining is like a Lamborghini with like a scooter engine or something like that. And we're like, what are you talking about? That's like one of the best horror movies ever made. But yeah, so not a fan of the monkey. I would agree with Gooch. Go see it if you make your own opinion of it. It wasn't like I think if you were the group of people that are into that shit, that's probably a great theater experience. Like none of us were particularly into it, despite being pretty excited because I liked a lot of what Perkins did in Long Legs, and I just think he ran into a lot of the same problems here. He needs a writer. He needs what George Lucas needed in every movie after after Return of the Jedi.
Every movie.
Yeah, maybe just every movie. Yeah.
Yeah. He does have another movie coming out later this year, which has been getting pretty good. I mean, they're targeting like a late fall release, so they have high hopes for it. And it does have a different writer. Now, the other writer really doesn't have any credits to his name. His name is Nick Lepard. That's Leparded.
Leparded?
Um, but that's something to look out for. Like if you haven't liked the writing, like I think both of us have been skeptical of his writing so far. Maybe he comes through on the third one or this next one. It's not his third movie all the time, but this next movie, and puts all of his tools together and really delivers something.
Yeah, it stars Tatiana Maslany, who was just obviously in this, which I thought she was very good. I enjoyed her.
Mm-hmm.
She was into maybe just like sort of. I want to watch more of her stuff. I've heard Orphan Black is really good. I've never watched it.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, so I would like to try that. Let's see, what else did Osgood Perkins have? He did an episode of the Twilight Zone series that Peele made. I never wound up watching that.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I was
The
never like,
original's so good.
yeah, Gretel and Hansel, which I do remember. I mean, the pretty thing that lives in the house and the black coat's daughter. Never saw. I don't think either of those. But yeah, so Osgood Perkins, please get someone to write more of your movies, or at least like punch up your comedy writing or something. Man, I struggled through that one. Let's see, what do we got next? I do the same thing every time. Never remember to look up.
There's a Looney Tunes movie coming out this weekend.
Do we?
I know that much.
Let's see.
It might be like the only thing dropping this next weekend, actually.
What are we on? February 24th as of this recording. We have A Working Man. How can we forget about that?
Oh yeah.
That is the movie we are reviewing, my friend.
You need to get fights organized and see if you can get him off that or someone like that.
The Woman in the Yard, Alexander.
Working Man looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm into that.
It looks like his like masterpiece, his magnum opus.
And they just did The Beekeeper together too. And I like David Ayer. I mean, Suicide Squad was not great, and he said as much that he didn't love the studio experience with all that. But I like Fury a lot. I like End of Watch quite a bit. He's got juice.
I like The Beekeeper a lot. Like,
dude,
I would love if him and Statham just do a bunch of B movies like annually for the next like 5 years.
Was B movies a pun or?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you were on purpose.
Yeah, that too.
But he. One of the funny things, whenever I keep seeing the trailer for The Working Man, I keep thinking. Do you remember Mark Wahlberg's character and the other guys? Like every time, like something would go wrong. He's like, the Colombian drug lords, they're going after this. Like that's just the part in the trailer where Jason Statham's like, human trafficking, cocaine, drugs. It's all connected to the government conspiracy. And I'm like, he does, and not everything needs to be everything. Like
this goes all the way to the top.
Yep. No, literally. Oh, we almost forgot before we just sign off. There was a couple shows that are currently running, which are all good. White Lotus season 2, as of right now, is on episode 2. Episode 2. I mean, it's going very White Lotusy, where all the threads are slowly moving up like an inch at a time until they really start to unravel. And that's what you get here. And I think so far the big star to me, Patrick Schwarzenegger, is killing it. Yeah, and he is perfectly cast in this role. And every time he does that laugh, it fucking kills me. He has like the like it's
theories about that laugh.
Really,
the monkeys have been the monkeys are so prevalent right off the bat in this season.
Mm-hmm.
People are thinking, oh, maybe it was a monkey shooting the gun. His laugh kind of sounds like a monkey. Kind of sounds like a monkey when he laughs.
This is a little like jackalish,
but no, he's great. I mean, perfectly cast. Just he's so believable as that like rich Southern guy who's like daddy's a lawyer, fraternity guy. Like he's really nailing it. Now, most fraternity guys, I would say, though, I'm not going to group them all together, probably don't want to fuck their sister and their brother.
No, that's probably a no.
We are heading towards something I do not want to see on television. Or maybe I do. Maybe it's just absurd.
You did in Game of Thrones, you fucking freak.
Yeah, it's kind of hot there.
when it was a 45-year-old man and an 18-year-old, it was cool. But now that it's siblings on White Lotus, it's no longer interesting.
Well, Lachlan's too young. Once he turns 18, then I'll be into it.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
No, it's crazy. Hitter. It's crazy. It's like wild. That storyline is like probably the highlight so far. Obviously the dad, he's fucked. Jason Isaacs. Do you think he knew, and that's why he got his family out of the country, like away from phones?
It's what it feels like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then Kiwi Kwan was definitely Kiwi Kwan.
That's what I said too, and I looked it up and I couldn't find it.
I think it's almost certainly.
I thought the same. I looked it up. I looked up. I was like, I went to Kiwi Kwan's IMDb. It didn't show up, but I was like, that sounded a lot like him.
Yeah,
Their
Has to be
storyline's
them.
good. The three girls are like
Yeah.
are really funny. Michelle Monaghan, Carrie Coon, and Leslie Bibb, all
Leslie
very funny.
Bibb.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're nailing that. Like the opening to that episode last night with just like what was it, probably 5 to 10 minutes of them just gossiping was
shit
just like
talking each other. Yeah,
perfect like suburban wine mom, like drunk off a few glasses, shit talking their friends and their friends' kids. Like just nailed it.
yep.
Nailed it.
And Mook, poor Mook and her beau, liking that too. I'm pretty much liking everything. There's nothing in the series I don't like so far. And Invincible, I actually haven't watched. I just realized the most recent episode, which I fucked up.
Oh,
I didn't even put that in the like our what we've been watching thing, and I was like, yeah, I watched the most
so
recent one, and then I went and saw. I was like, oh, I'm actually an episode behind.
so you just saw skip ahead for 2 minutes if you don't want to hear this. You just saw Mark get laid. Nice.
Yeah, that was the last
Nice.
episode I saw was Marketing Late. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's been really good so far. Again, the show is great. It's just as long as it's on, as long as we're not being boned by release schedule, then it's great. I mean, you're caught up, so I'm assuming, and then you still love it, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I said before, the next episode coming out this week, so 2 episodes ahead of where you're from, features a character voiced by Aaron Paul. I will continue to harp on this until I really hope these celebrities are doing this for like minimum pay, and that's why the animation's not good, and or at least the animation's not good, and they're taking minimum pay, so there's just not a budget for it. I really hope they're not spending all the budget on getting like Aaron Paul to come in for an episode
Hmm.
and just do a voice. But yeah, no, the show's been great. They're pacing it very well. The episode you just watched was my favorite episode of the season because it's the Alan the Alien.
Yeah,
It's got the Alan the Alien addendum, and they even did the narrator thing, which is actually from the comic books, where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna turn our attention away from young Mark and young Eve, give them some privacy, and checking on our friend Alan."
yeah,
Great stuff. Uh, and Omni Man's about to be back in the fold.
yeah.
Good old, good old Grayson, Mister Grayson. No, good show. Very good.
Reacher dropped the first, I think, 3 episodes. It's the same basic premise as every Reacher. Well,
Yeah.
the 2 Reacher seasons so far. It's like, hey, we drop him in the middle of some place, and now he's going to solve a crime. In this case, it's I believe they're in like Maine or something. Yeah, I think it's Maine, and it's good. I forget, are you Reacher head?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you on the? Have you started the latest season?
Oh, I'm a Tom Cruise Reacher head. Sorry.
Sorry, you're a
No,
fake Reacher head.
no,
You're short
no.
Reacher
I
head.
did. I did watch last. I thought it was a step down from the first season. I
Yeah,
thought
I'd
it
agree.
got like a little too. I thought the stakes went up a little too much. I kind of
Mm,
like him just being. Like, I like the first season when he's just in the town and like
yeah.
solving kind of more or less just a murder. Um, Second season a little too much, but still has like. I'm here. I'm here to see the big guy beat people up.
Yeah.
Let me see the oaf go to town.
And this is taking a step back to that, I think, because so far we have not left the town. But yeah, it's good. The only downside is that they have like the main detective, I guess, in this season is a woman who's supposed to be from Boston. It's played by a British actress. She has the worst Boston accent I've ever heard in my life. It's unbelievable. Like and they make a point to almost do like they do this in a lot of movies and TV shows too, and it's very frustrating. Where she's like, yeah, you like Nomar Garcia Para in the middle of the fourth inning. Like you don't need to make that reference. Like you know what I mean? Like she's doing a lot of that. Like you like wicked Tom Brady. Like you don't have to. You don't say stuff like that. Like if if the accent's already like enough, you don't need to make like
Mm-hmm.
hyper specific city references. Like oh my friends are from Southie. Come on, don't need it.
It's
Don't
like
need it.
it's like when they make Bill Burr and Casey Affleck just act as Boston people on
Yeah.
SNL,
Yes. It's
and they just are the most like ridiculous people that don't exist.
yeah. Like the accent is bad, which is whatever. But like you don't need all the extra shit on top of that. But other than that, good. It's fucking Alan Ritchson beating crap out of people, and the new big guy, that Dutch bodybuilder, that guy
Mhm.
is massive. He is an insanely huge human. And
Is
Reacher's
he like
struggling.
actually? I know he's huge, but I've seen the pictures of him and Alan Richardson side by side, at least in like the shots from the show,
Yeah.
and he's like twice the size. Like, is he actually that big, or is this just like a fun little trick of the camera that makes him look even bigger?
I know he's over 7 feet. I just don't know what actual height is. He's 7'2". So
Jesus
and
Christ!
he's humongous, like weight wise. Like he is. Let's
How does he
see.
not have a basketball in his hand?
It's a good question. He might have played basketball and then turned into a bodybuilder. I
Yeah.
think that's what Hafthor Bjorgensen did. The guy from like the mountain that played the
Oh
mountain.
yeah.
Let's see. How much does this guy weigh? Holy shit! He's like
400.
he weighs like 375 pounds. It's fucking crazy.
Jesus.
And like he doesn't look it at all because he's so tall. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that he's been really good. Like all the additional cast members. I think like Anthony Michael Hall plays the bad guy. A couple other,
Oh.
I believe so. Yeah. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm like digging everyone so far. That's been good. Paradise has been solid. Again, I'm just kind of like in this zone with Paradise where they keep trying to do a lot of reveals throughout the series, and none of the reveals are as cool as the insane reveal that they had in
Hmm.
in the first episode. So that's been a little bit tough, but other than that, it's still interesting. And also, I think that I want to see more, and it's such a weird, like hyper specific thing to focus on. But the music I think has been really good. Like the theme song, I like a lot, and I want to see that
Oh.
composer do a lot more stuff. So I've been digging that. And let's see.
I don't think. I think I'm holding off on that one. I don't think I'm gonna get a Reacher. I'm sad. I completely forgot. I watched 11 movies this weekend.
Yeah.
I was just watching ball, but I would have made time for Reacher if I'd remembered that it was back. I completely forgot.
They had a weird. They went out basically up against the White Lotus and also Invincible, which is not great
Good
competition to
luck.
have.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Especially because Invincible is like intra network with Prime, so like they're fighting for
Mhm.
banner space, and versus all the other slop that streamers put out already anyway. So both of those plus also White Lotus, which is tough.
Where you at with Severance? Are you caught up yet?
No, because I'm watching all these other shows. There's all these other good shows happening, so I need to slowly work my way back. Plus, another big problem of that is that I'm only signed into Apple TV on my TV. So like where I might typically like, oh, like I want to watch this in bed or I want to watch this on my laptop or whatever. Like I'm not signed into my Apple thing because I don't want all business Pete reading my text messages on here or any of my other
He'll
Apple
do
ID
that.
shit. You could do that if you wanted to. He can definitely do that, and I don't trust that.
What a freak.
So I'm not logged into here on my Apple ID, and it's a different. The one I'm signed up for Apple TV is not the same Apple ID I have on my phone, so it's
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of fucked up. It's an annoying thing. So I'm not caught up on that yet, but that's only because I need to watch it specifically on my TV. But I am trying to catch up on via phone, iPad, whatever, My Hero Academia, because I am realizing that I'm behind on that, and I do like that show quite a bit.
That's still coming out.
I think that they just had their last season or something, but I'm still in like season 5. I'm pretty far behind.
Hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah, you should watch that Harry Potter one I was telling you about. Mash.
Mashley?
Yeah.
I watched the first episode. It's funny.
Yeah.
I just haven't like made it a priority to get around to it.
Yeah. Just
I
wait
did
until you
like
get
it.
deeper in. It gets really funny.
Yeah, no, catch up on Severance so we can talk about some theories, dude.
Yeah.
The shit is going. It's going crazy.
I will say I'm very proud of most people in Twitter, IG, TikTok. Not a lot of spoilers have gotten out from Severance, and I don't think that's from a lack of people watching. I think people have just been very respectful, which I personally respect. And I also thought that funny of that picture of the actress that plays Helly. What's her name?
It's fuck. That's
God
gonna
damn it,
bother
she's
me.
good. But her and Adam Scott looking like lesbians. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway,
Dude,
yeah.
just like my face.
Anyway, that's the episode. We'll be back next week. Watch The Working Man, right? Or is it A
Yeah.
Working Man? The Working Man?
Watch the new Statham, baby.
Watch the new Jason
You know what I'm doing this
Statham.
weekend? I'm seeing the new Statham.
Yeah. And I'll be doing that next one from the YMCA basement from that you might remember from the fictional debates. Because I'm officially moving out of the city and back into the YMCA basement. Not living in the basement, but that'll be part of it. So it should be fun. But until then, we'll see you guys next week.